Great day, people of the tube. People of the tube, I'm so happy to be here today. I'm just out walking the dog. It was raining and miserable earlier. But I figured, you know what? We'll take you guys for a stroll. I don't have my selfie camera, so it's just me filming me by hand. Sorry if it's a little wobbly. Yeah, I just figured instead of you looking at me and my ugly mug all day, I might as well show you some scenery here that we walk by when we go for a stroll in Grandview, Manitoba, and the walking trail. This is called the Valley River, and it's flowing good. Pickle, get out of that water. She always wants to jump in the water, right? That's the lab in her. And this is my favorite area of the walk, is right here under the bridge here. It's a train bridge in town. And this is my favorite area, just because there's like rapids and it's got some noise to it, right? Get to hear the river go by. Today I was reading my daily reflections, and it was talking about the we and the first step. First step of Alcoholics Anonymous is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, and then our lives had become unmanageable. And that's for sure true in my life. I was completely powerless over alcohol. My life was completely unmanageable. Like, if you listen to some of my past videos about my story, I mean, my life was a mess when I first sobered up, and it took a while for it to for it to get better, right? Like, it really was. Even though I quit drinking, it still took a while, right? And I had to work at it. I had to struggle through those things, and I had to keep admitting that I was powerless over alcohol, right? It's one thing to do it once. It's another thing to admit it and keep believing it over and over and over again. It's probably the hardest thing you can do as an alcoholic, is admit that and then ask for help, right? We admit that we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. But admitting that means we have to ask someone else for help. We have to admit to somebody that we were powerless, right? And I know I had an extremely hard time with it, and I think everyone does. I just sat down for a minute here just to give you guys some clear shots, not wobbling around. And I wanted to read you guys something. So from the daily reflections that I read the other day, here's another one here. We, the first word of the first step. When I was drinking, all I could ever think about was I, or me, me, me. Such painful obsession of self, such soul sickness, such spiritual selfishness bound me to the bottle for more than half of my life. And that's what it did for me until I quit, right? I was almost 20 years I went, and I was 33, so more than half my life. The journey to find God and to do His will for one day at a time began with the first word of the first step, we. There was more in numbers. Oh, there was power in numbers. There was strength in numbers. There was safety in numbers. And for an alcoholic like me, there was life in numbers. If I had tried to recover alone, I probably would have died. With God and another alcoholic, I have a divine purpose in my life. I have become a channel. I have become a channel for God's healing love. And so when we read that, we think about that one, right? And like I said, like, my addiction was more than half of my life. And right, 20 years out of 33 years, that's more than half my life, right? From 13 to 33. So that's 20 years. And having that experience where it was half of my life, or over half my life, I'm having a hard time even just explaining it. It was devastating to me to be an alcoholic of that nature, but I still didn't want to admit that I had that problem, right? I still didn't want to admit that I was sick and I needed other people's help. I still didn't want to admit that family and friends and counselors were right, that I did have an alcohol problem, that I was having a problem. Here, I'm going to turn that sideways so we can get a better look at everything. It's crazy how we just don't want to admit that stuff, right? That we think that it's somehow we're going to change the fact that we're an alcoholic addict, right? Somehow, right? Even though I'm so sick from alcoholism that when I'm hungover to the point where I can't even think, and I have tremors, and I'm sick beyond belief, and I'm praying to God that He'll help me quit drinking and that I'll never drink again. Get out of there, please. And that I'll never drink again. And that's in the morning. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm already planning my next case of beer. And by 4:30, I'm half jiggered. There's a massive problem, right? There's a massive problem with me. Now, how am I supposed to stop that? Right? If it was that easy, like, why would I have a problem? Why wouldn't I just be able to stop that day and not buy that case of beer, just like I had promised myself time and time again? Why couldn't I do that? I couldn't do that because I'm a raging alcoholic. It's the same thing of why I couldn't stop smoking weed, even though I really wanted to. And all my money, like, I'd spend my last fucking dime on buying a case of beer and a bag of weed, right? And they went hand in hand. And I just couldn't stop myself. I couldn't stop myself, no matter how hard I tried. No matter how much I asked God to help me. I was not able to stop what I was doing. And that's the true alcoholic or addict, is no matter what anyone says or does, or ourselves, or how sick we are, how disgusted we are in our situation, we just can't stop ourselves, right? And that's the sick part of this journey, is that we had to admit that. We had to admit that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And that's the first step to getting help, whether you're with the 12 steps or not. It's just the first step of getting help, right? Because you have to get a counselor. You have to get somebody to help you. You cannot just do it on your own. I've met some guys and women, men and women, that have done it completely on their own. They just said, you know what, I'm not drinking again. And I'm not drinking again. I know a guy in East Selkirk where I used to live when I was younger. He said he was a city cop for Winnipeg. And he said to himself, I know I have a problem. I know I'm really sick. I am going to quit drugs and alcohol until I retire. And he did. He did. He fucking quit. He was not a very happy person, right? He was very angry. He was very, he didn't smile very often. And when he retired, he started drinking again. And once he did, he very rarely left his house. He was just in that bottle. And he was even less of a nice person. Family and friends stopped talking to him. He didn't go out and do anything. He just completely turned into himself and into that bottle. And I moved away, so I don't know exactly what happened to him. But I did watch what happened once he started drinking, right? And he was so proud that he could quit on his own. And he actually did, right? But it wasn't a pleasant quit. It wasn't, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be happy and healthy. And that's why we need that. Oh, I'm bouncing around too much. Sorry, guys. That's why we need that AA, right? That's why we need that spiritual awakening, as they call it. That's why we need to get a happy life after addiction. It's super important to have a happy, healthy life. I mean, my life is so happy, healthy right now. That it's crazy. It's crazy that this is my new life. Pardon me for burping up a supper here. It's absolutely insane that this is my life. If I had thought that I was going to be like this and my life was going to be like this back, 25 years ago when I was still head deep in the addiction, you couldn't have told me that. You couldn't have convinced me that this was going to be my life. I remember talking to friends and friends of mine back in the addiction and saying how we were going to drink like this till we were old men in our 60s and 70s and in the old folks home and all this kind of, we're joking around. But I mean, most of my friends that kept drinking like that never made it to the old folks home, right? They didn't even make it to 50. The only ones that did are the ones that quit, or they could cut it back and only do it on the weekends, right? Anyone that was as drunk and crazy as me, they're not alive anymore, right? And a lot of it is suicide, and some of it was their pancreas shut down, and that's a major problem, right? Major problem with alcoholics. It's what happened to my stepdad, right? His pancreas shut down on him. So, yeah, step one, man, we admitted. What else can I say about that? Step one is step one. It's, if you can't admit that you have a problem, then you're in big trouble, right? The admitting is half the battle right there. Yeah. But once you quit, I mean, once you get over that, you work through those steps, and you just get enough sober time in, enough time away from the drugs and the alcohol. Doing stuff like this, like I'm doing right now, this is the life. I love it. I'm super happy to be sober and straight from drugs, and no cocaine, no weed, no drinky, just life, right? Taking life on and enjoying it. This little town that I'm living in. I'm not here for very long. By next summer, I'll be moving on. But right now, this year, this is pretty damn cool. And to have access to this trail by this river is amazing. The dog loves it. I can't let her in the river because it's running too fast and she'd be gone. But it's amazing just being able to be out here. And it's all because I admitted I had a problem, right? I admitted I had a problem. I admitted I needed help. And once I admitted it, I felt better, right? Once I came to those conclusions and said, fuck, I'm an alcoholic. Fuck, I'm a drug addict. Like, fuck, why? But it's just what it is. And once I came to that conclusion, and once I did that, once I admitted that, my life started to change right there. Right there. Now, I didn't get sober instantly, I had to go through some hardships of going to AA meetings and drinking after and going through all that stuff, But at least I admitted that I had a problem, right? And I asked for help, and I reached out, and it made all the difference in the world, right? Fine, you know, once I got the privilege of being able to go to rehab, my admitting was pretty easy, right? Because I had already done it. I'd already come to that conclusion that I was a mess, that my life was unmanageable, that no human power could have relieved my alcoholism, right? And so I needed the Creator. You know, I needed a God. I needed Creator. I needed someone to help me with that problem, right? So I needed another human being. I needed a counselor. I had a good counselor. I had a good treatment center. I had the men and women of Alcoholics Anonymous and the men and women of Narcotics Anonymous to help me through all that problems, all those things that I was doing. And yeah, it was really good to admit that. Just giving you guys a nice view of what I'm seeing. It's hard, you know, like when you don't have a super good camera, it's hard to get super good pictures, right? The dog's already disappearing on me. Yeah, she always runs ahead. Yeah. So step one. And again, if you're not into AA, that's perfectly fine, man. You know, however you want to get sober. Pickle, get up here. Hey, hey! Sorry, guys. Don't want to yell. She's about to jump in the river again. Yeah, it's up to you guys, right? However you want to do it. If you want to go see a counselor, go see a counselor. Just get some help, right? Admit that you have a problem. And ask for help. That's the biggest thing, right? I'm going to try to flip this around here. Can I? Can I flip it around on me? No, it won't let me flip it around now because I'm recording. Okay. Yeah, it is what it is. No, won't let me flip it around. Sorry, guys. You can't see my face today because I started in the wrong direction. But I'm going to walk a little bit more, and me and the dog are going to run a bit. I can run about 10 minutes before my ankle gets sore. So I'm going to keep doing that and see if I can't get it to 15 minutes and then 20 and, you know, try to build it up. There's the trail ahead. Goes back into town. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this journey. Please comment. Please ask questions. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.